It used to be hard to find the exact auto parts you needed, and that meant spending a lot of time at swap meets. It's a different game now when you can order exactly what you need from eBay Motors. They have 122 million parts, so you can always find the right fitment. Spend less time searching and more time building with the eBay Motors app or visit ebaymotors.com. Let's ride.
Holidays are here, and so is fashionable fitness. Gift yourself a Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 3 5G, a phone that folds in half to literally stand on its own. Pair it with the Galaxy Watch 4 for ultimate wellness and wow factor. Check health stats, flex personal records. Over 90 activities can be tracked, like biking, swimming, golfing, and more. Invest in yourself with tech made to crush goals. Holidays open up with Galaxy. Shop it all at Samsung.com. 5G connection and availability may vary. Check with carrier. Products sold separately.
Hey everyone, this is the Almost World Podcast. Bringing to you mind-blowing interviews with guests from all over the world. So settle down, relax, and enjoy the show. Oh yeah, by the way, if you like the podcast, please support Elmo's World Podcast on Patreon. Your support is what helps the podcast improve more and more. Welcome to Elmo's World Podcast. This is Elmo Adore Jr. and it's awesome to have my friend John Hoddy here. John, can you tell us something about yourself?
Sure. My name is John. I live in Lynchburg, Virginia. Currently, I'm working at a pharmaceutical company doing sanitizing for COVID. Mm-hmm. I work nights. I work 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., so that's fun.
And how are you doing, man? Like, how is America doing right now? I've been having messages from my friends that in the USA that like a civil war is brewing or something. Fear is spreading in the country. How is it there?
It's a scary time, really. Mm-hmm. First, we have the virus, and there are people who don't believe that it's an actual thing, and refuse to wear masks or.
Yeah, and how are you doing there in the USA right now?
A little anxious. I mean, I'm not. My wife and I, practice social distancing and wear masks when we go out and things like that. But not everybody does, so it's a little frightening. I've had a friend who passed away from COVID about a month or so ago. Another coworker was out of work for a little over a month with COVID. He traveled to a place where I think he went to Atlanta, Georgia, and he contracted it there. And so he was sick and couldn't come to work for about a month or so. So yeah, that's how it's been.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the thing is that a lot of people deny the casualties and a lot of people who actually really were affected by this virus. And the sad thing is that misinformation is a huge thing, and its impact on the economy and everybody as a whole is so huge. But we tend to ignore this because we always because it's a democracy, I guess. Anybody can do what they want, but there has to be a limit. Don't you agree?
Oh yes, absolutely. And it's confusing that people won't listen to scientists and medical professionals, and just something that's almost like a celebration of ignorance about this stuff. And yeah, it's just hard to understand people's perspective on why they don't believe it's as serious as it is.
Mm-hmm. And I want to ask you, John, what are your beliefs? Do you believe in God? Are you a Christian, or are you an atheist?
I would categorize myself as an ex-Christian. agnostic. Both my parents were Christians, both Sunday school teachers. I was raised in church. I attended Bible college. But yeah, at this point in my life, I'm not sure if I believe in God.
Mm-hmm. Well, I know this is a very personal question, but I would like to ask you, what were the reasons why you call yourself an ex-Christian, or why did you leave Christianity?
Sure. I think like any religion or philosophy, there's always a journey to or from. If you embrace Christianity or Islam or you know becoming an atheist or whatever, there's always a journey. You don't usually just wake up one day and decide you're going to be whatever it is you decide to be. With me, it was a number of different things. A lot of it, I was very involved in church. I was a member of the board of a couple of churches. Even thought about being a pastor at one point. But just a lot of the toxicity that I've seen in Christianity, and I'm talking about fundamentalist Christianity,
Mm-hmm.
and things that happen to me, ways that I was treated. That certainly contributed to it. Another big thing that happened, my best friend passed away from cancer. It killed him in about 4 months. At the end, they removed his breathing tube and had him just breathing on his own while they're waiting for him to die, basically. And it took him 12 hours to die. And I was like, why would if God exists and God is merciful, why would He allow my friend, who was one of the best people I've ever known, his funeral was standing room only? Why would God allow him to suffer like that and to die? And it just, it really, that's when I began to really question, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And came to the place that I am now in my, lack of belief.
But then I guess that now that you're an ex-Christian, you would identify as an agnostic. But in that case, though, you don't say that there is no positively say that there is no God,
Yeah.
but you just don't know whether there is one because of your doubts as well.
Yes, I mean, I'm not arrogant enough to think that I know everything in the universe, and whether God exists. I can't positively rule out the idea of God.
Mm-hmm.
Like God exists, but I don't know. So yes, yeah, I would say I'm an agnostic.
Okay, then in this case, then because you're an agnostic, this is very interesting. How do you look at life? Like, what are your values, and what do you think is real? For example, you probably believe in evolution, the Big Bang, and all that stuff, but do you also believe in like human rights or human morality?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I would say I have a definite moral code, and that it's really no different than it was before I left Christianity. I still value treating people, the way I would want to be treated, and trying to be kind. I value human rights, social justice, those sorts of things.
Okay.
So yeah, yes, absolutely.
But then again, can I ask you, like, where are your strong opinions on? Is it more of a like anti-religious, or more of political, or do you dive into more philosophical?
Oh, that's a tough question. Yeah, some of all of the above.
Okay.
I don't know that I'm completely anti-religious. I respect, people who who are Christians or or any other religion really. I respect it as long as people don't use their beliefs to violate other people's basic freedoms and rights. I have no problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, philosophically, I like to think a lot about things like the existence of God or not. The the idea, and one thing that I really focus on, the idea of if there is God, how is there evil in the world? How do we account for some of the horrible things that we see in our world today? Yeah, politically, I was going to say politically, I'm very very left leaning. I support the idea just of human decency and human rights, and for people to be able to make a living wage, and for people to be treated equally no matter what their race is or their sexual orientation or things like that.
Okay. Then, but what can I ask you? What is your basis for your moral code? When I say like basis, like for example, when you believe in human rights, I want to ask you, what is human rights? Like, is it inherent? Is it, or just socially constructed?
Independent liberal, I believe in a lot of things of the Democratic Party, a lot of their platforms. Um, oh, I'm not. But a lot of things along the line of racial equality, uh, better paying jobs, uh, taxing the very wealthy billionaires in order to pay for health care, um, support marriage equality, um, basically things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you. And well, how about we talk about, for example, abortion, because this is a very controversial topic, and I would like to know what your position on that is.
Um, uh, I would say I am personally pro-life. That my wife and I have no children, but if she were to become pregnant, which hopefully at our age, we're both 50 years old, wouldn't happen, but um, if she were and she could carry a child safely to term, I would encourage that. But as far as anyone else goes, I really believe that's I'm pro-choice. I believe that that is up to each individual person to decide whether they support abortion or whether they would have an abortion or what they would do. I'm not comfortable with the government telling people that they can't do that.
Mm-hmm. So I guess then that in publicly, in terms of like public policies, you are pro-choice, but personally in your life you would be more pro-life, right?
Yeah, yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
think that's a fair assessment.
Mm-hmm. But I guess like being pro-choice is something of a, I don't know, but it's more of a pragmatic decision rather than a consistent moral choice. Because, for example, the real issue with why women have to choose for themselves and um, abort the baby, other than, except with exceptions of rape cases, of course, or critical issues for life, like a lot of women get abortions because they wouldn't be able to provide for themselves. And in that case, the real issue is not, it's not actually the life of the baby itself, but more of a a economical problem, you know. And if you ask me, actually, the government could have a lot of policies that could give incentives for women to actually keep their babies, you know. And personally, I think no woman wants to abort their baby. I think they do have deep love for this child that is inside their bodies, but in a lot of cases they choose to not have them because of the future problems that it will bring, and it's just not a wise decision. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I would say that's fair. I and I certainly support anybody who would choose, if they feel they could not raise their child, that they would give up a child for adoption. I would support that as well. I think that's certainly a viable choice. Yeah, I think though largely you're right. It's a lot of it is if you feel that you can't afford to raise a child, and you know therefore bringing a child into the world without a lot of the necessities and things that a child would need, it is kind of grossly unfair.
Yeah, and I agree. But for example, let's say that you have a daughter, right? And she grew up, and she's like 25, and she got pregnant too, and she decides to have an abortion. Would you stop her from having that because you are personally pro-life, but in a way you're also pro-choice when it comes to others' decisions? How would you uh,
Um,
handle that?
I I would support her no matter what her choice was,
Okay.
whether she chose to keep the baby or whether she chose to abort it. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's easy for me to say because I have no emotional connection because she's a hypothetical
Mm-hmm.
daughter. But yeah, I mean, I I would like to think that I would choose to support her no matter what her choice was.
Okay. And then how about we talk about, for example, taxes? You do agree that we should tax the rich, right? And we should tax
Yes,
them more.
there's a huge income inequality when you have billionaires like Jeff Bezos who owns Amazon, who pays very little in taxes, doesn't pay his workers very well, and has made even more money during this pandemic. It would be an easy solution if we were to tax him more, and use that money for programs to help just regular people. Um, and he wouldn't be poor. He would just be a little less rich, and it wouldn't hurt him at all. So yeah, absolutely. I definitely believe in taxing the rich, but they should be able to. They have advantages, and they should be able to pay their fair share. And it's wouldn't be a hardship on them at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you on that. But in the case of, for example, if I was the rich person and say, I worked hard to gain this position, like 20 hours a day. I worked like 5 years straight to be able to have this position to grow my business. And I would say that I fully deserved what I have right now. and and to say that, for example, if I were to pay taxes for someone who hasn't worked the same as me, and who would gain insurance for free and a lot of government benefits, to me that would seem unfair, right?
Well, I feel like yeah, on its face, maybe it does seem unfair, but in order to make that much money, and I'm not talking about a small business owner who's worked and invested and now makes several $100,000 a year. Yeah, I agree that person deserves what they've worked for, but somebody who's a billionaire has a lot of advantages that the regular person doesn't have. And when you have to work 2 or 3 jobs, and I know people who do this just to make ends meet, to be able to pay for your children, to be able to I don't think it's too much to ask somebody who is super rich, who is one of the mega rich, to pay a little bit more in taxes.
Yeah, I agree with you on that in that case, but I guess that in order to have like a better economy, we have to also provide incentives for businessmen to stay in in our own national economy, because the higher the taxes go, the more they would want to go to other countries with lower taxes and have their businesses there, right?
Sure. And the problem you have with that is then they exploit workers in countries that don't, where they wouldn't have to pay as much taxes, or where the living wage is a lot less. Things in the United States, raising the minimum wage which we could do that easily with, taxing very, very wealthy people. We could easily raise the minimum wage, which hasn't been raised in many years. I don't even remember when. It's been about 25 years, so it's not kept up with the cost of living. But if you were to give people who are lower class, who are working poor, such as myself, more disposable income, they're going to buy more goods and services, and that money goes back into the economy. That would benefit the businessmen who would pay higher taxes, be in a higher tax bracket. A lot of those guys don't pay a lot in taxes. They don't really, because they have lawyers, they have offshore accounts. So yeah, I mean, certainly you don't want to drive business away from your country, but at the same time, there is a privilege of being able to live and have a business in a country where you can make a lot of money. And, for that, you should be willing and, certainly obliged to pay the difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is true. That is true. Then in this case, though, I would ask myself, when we talk about, for example, why I would want to work, or why I would like start a business, I would have to look deep down and ask myself, why am I doing this? And for you, John, I want to ask, what is your motivation for work, and why do you work hard, and why do you sacrifice so much in your life?
To pay for food and a roof over my head, and to be able to pay for medical care if I need it. Yeah, I mean, those are personally the reasons, why I work.
Yeah, but what I'm asking you is, what do you think is the meaning of life? Like, why are we here? Because you say you're agnostic, but I would assume that because you are striving hard to live, that you have a reason why you're living.
I, yeah, as far as like cosmological reason to be, um, I believe we have a finite amount of time on this earth and we have choices, we can choose to make the lives of people around us better in the time that we have. Um, I don't know if I believe, that there's a hereafter. That's a focus of a lot of religions is, that if you do good deeds, or, if you obey God's commands, if you have a relationship with Jesus Christ, or, those types of things, that, you'll end up in heaven, or, and if you don't, then you'll be punished. You'll, go to, I'm not sure about those things. So I believe, my best thing to do is to, work to make lives of people around me better, to try and treat people as well as, as well as I can. I certainly don't always do that, but those sorts of things, that's my motivation, to cultivate the relationships with the people that I care about, my wife, my friends, my family, those types of things. I'm.
Mm-hmm.
Does
Okay. It seems then that you believe in the value of human life, right? You act in this
yeah,
certain ways, and you know that whatever I do, this life is something that I want to hold on to, and I want to keep it, and I want to maximize my happiness by working hard and making good friends and being a good person, right?
sure, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but in the end, though, because you're an agnostic, do you think that this life has meaning in the grand scheme of things? You know, that at the end of the day, when I die, what I do in this life, would it actually matter? You know?
Maybe not in a large way. No, there's only a few people who, whose lives have probably ever mattered in a large way, where they've affected, you know, thousands or millions of people. But yeah, in a small way, sure. I would hope that my life will have mattered to other people, and certainly, when my time comes, hopefully, I'll be able, if I am able to look back, I'll see where, I did things that mattered to other people, and and gave my life some sort of meaning, whatever it was.
Mm-hmm. Well, now that you have you find that life has meaning, and you do work, but in your spare time, what fills your interest, your time, like interests, hobbies, your passion? What are they?
I think as far as a lot of it, just I like to spend a lot of time with my wife. I, she may be, I try to make her happy. So my relationship with her is probably a big part of my life. The fact that we don't have children, we're definitely more focused on each other. And whereas if I had a child, to be a good parent, you have to sacrifice some of that relationship you might have with your spouse, to be a parent to a child. So yeah, that's and really most of my life outside of work focuses on doing things with her.
Mm-hmm. It seems that your wife is your life. She's the one thing that your world revolves around.
Yeah, certainly too. Yeah, I would say so.
Mm-hmm. But I want to ask you, like, for you, like, what constitutes your identity, you know? For example, what are your characteristics that are unique to you, and how do you express your individuality, maybe in art, maybe in a hobby like collecting fossils or something, hunting, what, or writing? What do you do most of the time?
Um, I spend a lot of time reading just for fiction for pleasure. Um, I mean, but that's something that I love and I've always loved. I would consider that to be a part of certainly reasonably large part of my identity. As far as personal hobbies, I do on occasion write poetry. Um, not as much as I used to, but I certainly do enjoy that. That's um, something I really enjoy. A lot of times I enjoy thinking and you know about the world around me and what causes people to behave like they do, things like that. So yeah, I'm kind of philosophical introspection, I guess. So those types of things.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's talk about the books you read. What books have you read? I find this very interesting. And you said you're interested in fiction. Can you give an
Yes,
example?
sure. No, I've read a lot of horror fiction. Just find it entertaining. I don't know that there's anything deep there, but it's just it's escapism. I think any sort of fiction is can be escapism. And that's like horror and fantasy are things that I really enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
I have on occasion read some books that are a little deeper than that. I don't know if you've heard of Siddhartha by Herman Hesse.
Oh yeah, I sort
Yeah,
of have like an idea, but I don't know much about him. Can you tell us? Can you tell me about him?
it's been a little while since I've read it, but it's um, from what I remember, Herman Hesse was a German author, but but he wrote about Buddhism, and I'm not sure if he was a Buddhist or not. But Siddhartha is basically about um, his three or four phases of the main character's life and how his philosophy changes in his pursuit of happiness, basically.
But and to you though, what is happiness? What could make a person truly happy?
I think really two things that can make someone very happy: being around people that they love, and doing things that they love and enjoy. Those things can make a person happy. And as I said, a lot of it is um, makes me happy is doing things with my wife, especially like if we travel, or um, we both like to try different types of food, and we're interested in different cultural foods, things like that. And when we find something that we haven't experienced before, we really enjoy it, and just being together, we really enjoy that. So yeah, those are things that make me happy.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. And John, you seem to be a very like simple, good man, and but I would like to ask though, when it comes to, as you said, when you observed other people and sort of philosophizing, what have you conclusions have you come to?
Oops. Well, I find that most people well, no, that's not fair to say most people. That all people that I've encountered, do have intrinsic worth. I think sometimes people are affected by the bad things that have happened to them in their lives that cause them to behave, in a certain way. And it's, maybe it's hard to separate sometimes who, when they do bad things or they treat other people poorly. It's hard to separate them from that behavior. So it's harder, especially as an imperfect person myself, to see the intrinsic worth of somebody who would do that. But the same time, I find that if you talk to people one on one, a lot of times you find that their experiences and perspective are outside what I things that I know, and so I think almost all people, because of their varied experiences, um, are always interesting, and always there is that intrinsic value in hearing other people's experiences and other people's what makes them who they are, I guess.
Yeah, I definitely agree. And um but to me, like, what makes me who I am is not really, like, for example, my nationality or my age or my name or whatever that is. I think that who I am is the will of which, uh, when I am put in a situation, like, for example, similar, I am put in a simulation similar to five other people, and we have the same circumstance. But the thing is that because my will is different from them, even though that circumstance is difficult, I would still strive hard to become a better person and succeed, rather than compared to the other four would just whine and be lazy. Even though we have the same circumstances, what made me different was my own personal will to strive hard, and I would say that would be simply character. I think
Yes, yes, exactly.
yeah,
Character.
my character is who I am. It's me being a respectful man, a a man of courage, loyalty, integrity, and I think that essentially what the world needs is not more smarter people or more stronger or whatever is highly skilled. We could always use all those people, but in essence, I think what this world's need, what
Yeah, I think. Well, yeah, you talk about character. Yeah, and honestly, character and goodness and treating people well are so much more important than any other accomplishments than that you can have. Whether if you whether you're a great businessman and rich, or you're an inventor and good with technology. Those things are good. They certainly have their place. But if you lack the moral character, um, it's those other things are kind of meaningless, really.
yeah, I definitely agree. And but the thing is, though, the sad thing is that good men this in this world are few, because this world doesn't like look for or build good men, because what it needs to succeed in this life is actually a lot of people who are deceptive, who are manipulative, people who have no integrity and cowardly. Those are the ones who survive most of the time and actually reach the top, because it takes a lot of that sort of characteristics in order to survive and thrive in a capitalistic environment. And so in this kind of society, it seems that we are sort of creating an era of weak men. How would you agree with that.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I look at who we have in the United States as a president currently as, somebody who has really no moral character and, who only seems to value success and will put anybody down and do anything to achieve that. And, that seems to be, yeah, more of a standard these days than not. That, goodness and courage and those sorts of things are not nearly as valued as the ability to do anything you can to succeed.
Yeah, and one thing though is I want to ask you, why don't you have kids now? Like you're at the prime of your age and you have a beautiful wife. Why not have kids?
Um, well, when we first got married, we thought about it. I think really several factors. One was just convenience. We enjoyed just being able to pick up and travel and do the sorts of things that you can't always do when you have children if you're going to be a good parent. I think for me the second thing was I came from an abusive. My mother was very abusive. Um, my father knew about it and let it happen. And I'm touching on my current lack of belief in God. That certainly contributed to it because both of them taught Sunday school and were very active in church. Very very knowledgeable about the Bible. So but yeah, the way I was raised and some of the things my mother said and did to me and my brother, made me not want to have children. Partly because I would be afraid of a lot of times people who were abused become abusers, and I certainly I was very afraid of doing that, of continuing that cycle. So that's certainly was part of it. And part of it was my wife and I just found that it was more convenient.
But like I have to tell you though, because I myself am a Christian, John, and before we end this call, I would love to talk to you about these things, and you said that your parents were like people who taught Sunday school, and you were asking like if these people were Christian, but and why do they do these things, if Christianity were real, then it should definitely produce like not perfect, but like at least good people who actually believe and act what they believe, like how did you cope with this?
Well, I mean, at the when I was a child, and certainly for even most of my adult life, I was a Christian and I did go to church, and I really did strive to believe and pray and follow God's word, and all the things you associate with Christianity. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think when I was in it, it did not occur to me as much. Um, but I went to a therapist for a while, and and when you do that, it starts to kind of take the blindfold off as far as how you were treated and why, and it really started to make me question. And again, not just my parents, but a lot of the people that I encountered who claimed to be Christians and went to church and were very faithful, you know, just were really awful people. So yeah, I mean, I think that's those were things that definitely shaped me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, John, this is before we end. This is all that I would love to tell you. I believe that man is wicked and man is totally depraved of God, and no matter how religious we people might be, they will always have these problems in their heart, and I believe that you yourself are a Christian. You have like still hold on to your belief in God, but there is something bothering you right now, and it's that you have seen the evil in people's hearts, and it's hindering you from letting God into your heart, but I think that deep inside you know that love is real. When you look at your wife, you see how valuable she is, how important she is to you, and you would do anything for her. And I believe that this kind of love is real, and this sort of love is the same is made in the and because we are made in the image of our creator, who is also loving. But the thing is that in order for us to be able to have love, we also need to have free will. And the problem with free will is that people get to choose not just the right thing, but also the wrong thing. And for me, it's a sacrifice worth it. No matter how hard the troubles, the struggles we have, suffering and evil, I believe that no matter how much suffering there is in life, just having your child in your arms, or looking at your wife, or just having fun with your friends and being in good fellowship, I think that's really what life is about, and it's worth everything, every struggle we have, and I'm not trying to convert you or proselytize you or anything, but I just want to tell you that no matter how evil people can be, God is there, and He is loving. He will take care of you, especially His Son Jesus Christ. And uh, if you're ever struggling, and if you're having trouble with your life, I believe that if you open your heart to Christ, and I believe that that Christ died on the cross for you, and He lived again. And now that He's living, we have hope that we also will live again when we die. And just to end this here, I want to ask you one last question. Um,
Sure.
being the good man that you are, of moral fiber, I believe that you are, and you like only desire good things for other people, and I would want other men to be like you as well. um what would your desire be for the world? What kind of world should uh should it be that produces good men in a normal basis? What kind of action should we take in order to arrive at this world?
I'm I'm not sure we can. I think we can only do our best at this point to but I think we live in a world that seems to be morally depraved. And the best we can do is our best to I, to treat people well. You know, um, no, to talk about Christ, the way that Christ treated people, the way Jesus treated people was, it didn't matter whether you were, a Samaritan woman at a well, or a devout religious teacher. We see Jesus having those types of having interactions with those type of people, and he loved them, and he saw, not only who they were, but who they could be. And I think that's something that, whether you believe in Christianity or not, you can still see people who they are and treat them as well as you can, and also see who they can ultimately be if they're allowed to blossom as people and to experience love and compassion and dignity.
Yeah, and one last thing, John, I just want to say that it has been awesome talking with you, very interesting, and I've learned a lot actually. And um, I've also have these struggles in my life, but to be honest, I've only found the answers in Jesus Christ. But it's your choice, bro, and I believe that we're gonna be good friends, even, and it's been nice talking to you, man.
Yeah, you too. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
So that's the end of it. Thanks for tuning in, guys. This is your host, Elmo Ador Jr., and thank you for listening in. And please subscribe. Please follow us on Facebook. Please follow this. Please. Thanks.
It takes a lot of ingredients to fix or build a car, like cooking, but without the frozen dinner easy way out. eBay Motors has 122 million parts. It's always the right fitment, so you can follow any recipe to a T. Whether it's a vintage Italian coupe that's classic like Grandma's meatballs or a German luxury car that's as complicated as Oma's rouladen, to cook up something great in the garage, use the eBay Motors app or visit ebaymotors.com. Let's ride.
Holidays are here, and so is fashionable fitness. Gift yourself a Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 3 5G, a phone that folds in half to literally stand on its own. Pair it with the Galaxy Watch 4 for ultimate wellness and wow factor. Check health stats, flex personal records. Over 90 activities can be tracked, like biking, swimming, golfing, and more. Invest in yourself with tech made to crush goals. Holidays open up with Galaxy. Shop it all at Samsung.com. 5G connection and availability may vary. Check with carrier. Products sold separately.